Well, hello, everyone. Wonderful to see you all. Thank you for joining us today with our special guest, Ian Gundrill. My name is Narelle Walk-On. I live in Mackay, Queensland, Australia. And today we're doing an interview with Ian and his journey along the carnivore way of life, way of eating. There's so many things that I suppose different people call it, but part of my journey, just before we go over to Ian, is I am 120 days into carnivore lifestyle, and I am enjoying it thoroughly. I can't say that from the beginning. The first 2 weeks were a little bit oopsie daisy and trial and error, I suppose, because there's so much that you can research out there. There's so many different doctors, carnivore doctors, different groups within Australia and all over the world globally, where people are sharing their journeys and also about what they think is right and wrong. May I suggest that if you are going to start this way of eating, that you do your research, reach out, ask as many questions as you can, even before you get started. Now, my journey came into it because one day I decided that was it, I'd had enough. I wanted to get off my insulin. I wanted to change my lifestyle in the sense of not having to be stressed out about, as I get older, I'm insulin dependent and all that sort of stuff, type 2 diabetic. But today's not about my journey. And there is a video on my website. I do have a Facebook website called Carnivore Aussie Style. And like I said, it's just about bringing you some information and the journey of many that we share on there that are coming soon. So keep an eye out for that, and I'll go over to that website a little bit later. But today I'm excited to have our dear friend Ian Gundrill sharing with us today. Ian has been on the carnivore way of eating for quite some time now, and I'm going to get him to share his story. But I also want you to know that remember that neither of us are doctors, and we're not here to be able to persuade you to do anything. This is a lifestyle change, and it really is up to you at the end of the day as to what choice you make for you. And I always say, find your own lane, find what suits you. But if you want to go strict, I'm sure that Ian will have some information and a lot about his experience. So thank you very much, Ian, and welcome to the show.
Yeah, thanks, Narelle. Yeah, happy to be here. Anything we can do to get the message across, because it's really, really important that people understand a little bit more about carnivore, because it's certainly been a life-changing experience for me. So, yeah, I just can't tell you enough about what it's done for me, and we won't have a lot of time today, but I'll fill in the gaps as best I possibly can, and maybe we'll attract some interest.
Absolutely. Ian, just let us know where you're coming in from first. If you're okay with sharing that information, and just start your journey. Where did you start from and why?
Right. I'm living in Noosa and I'm retired. We had a business on the Gold Coast, and prior to that we moved around Queensland a lot. I was a relief manager for various companies and enjoyed all that. But when we moved to Noosa, it was all about retirement, but I had all these issues that were going on. I had a hip replacement and I had an ankle fusion, and that takes a lot out of you. And I just knew there was something missing, but I didn't quite understand what that was. I do now, and let's just fill you in exactly how that all started, because I had a trip coming up where my wife and I were going to go to Europe with our kids, and we had to keep up with them, clearly, so we had to get a little bit fitter. So I dedicated myself to keto, and keto diet's not dissimilar to carnivore. They're both still a ketogenic type diet. But I started on keto not knowing enough or even knowing about carnivore at the time. And I did. I lost a lot of weight. Very happy with the results. I had a lot of withdrawal issues going on, and what I didn't really realise at the time is that the greens, I was filling the plate up with salad because I could eat as much of that as I liked, and that's what you do. But I found that eventually, when I went to carnivore, that it was the greens that were causing the issues. So when we went to Europe, we had a cruise and they had everything on the cruise, and I could have eaten meat the whole time I was on there, but I wasn't aware of that, and I wasn't aware of carnivore at the time, so it was hard to get enough good tucker, and then you're roaming around Italy and France and you got breads and you got all sorts of things. And a few ales. We were on a cruise ship, and of course they waited on your hand and foot. So it all went south from there. And I figured when I get home, I'll start again. And so I did get home, and I did try to start again. And it all went west. I just couldn't do it. It was terrible. I was having withdrawals again. I had the sugar cravings. That's the thing with these types of diets. You weed them out of your life, but if you do sneak them back in again, they get a hold of you. And that's what happened to me. So back to the research, and I came up with carnivore, mostly through some videos made by Dr. Anthony Chafee. I started there. Very useful source of information, and Ken Berry in the United States. So both of those chaps, I still follow them, and I watch their live videos and what have you. But learning about carnivore, I also then understood that it was the greens that were making me feel terrible. I had headaches, I had bad cough, I had a number of different ailments that you think is just life. And they're not, because when I went to carnivore, they all went away. Beautiful.
So, Ian, wow, going on a cruise must have been really difficult at that time, in the sense that, but you didn't know what you should and shouldn't be eating, I suppose, or what was beneficial health-wise. So how does that, lead you into where you are now? How did all of this sort of happen and come together for you?
Yeah, when I researched carnivore, hoping, because I had to break out of the cycle of the sugar cravings and the headaches from the salads and things. I was starting to realise that was the issue I had to break, and I learnt that carnivore is more severe, if you like, than keto. It's more direct. So I decided to give that a go. And from day one, day two, everything changed. All I had to do was get rid of the greens. I got rid of all the salads, and I just ate my meat for the day. And surprise, surprise, I just turned around, just turned the corner. Remarkable things happened from that point on, because I think I was pretty primed with the keto and then into carnivore. About a week or two into that, I learnt more about the fat requirements, and I just kept learning progressively. But what it did for me, all the aches and pains that were still there to some degree with the keto, even though it was much better, just disappeared, and they've been gone ever since, just purely by eating red meat, eggs.
Ian, I'm just going to inject there, because I think a lot of us are, have been told for many years, particularly when you get to our age, that this is the way that you should eat. This is, this pyramid of food, whatever they want to call it. And people have researched over years and tried different diets or tried different things. I like to call this a way of eating, because I really do think it's a lifestyle change. Most people who yo-yo diet or go on diets, they lose some weight, they lose that water retention that they have in their body. And then after a while, they get sick of eating that way. They're cutting out different things. So all of a sudden, they get tired of it and they go back on the same way of eating that they have been doing. What makes this a little bit different that you found that makes you stay with what you're doing, besides the fact that you obviously have some benefits? And if you could expand on those a little bit more for us, that'd be great.
Yeah, sure. The benefits, they're just amazing. If you can imagine having arthritis your entire life, and even since I was a kid, having inflammation, which I now know is extremely detrimental to the body in a lot more ways than people realise. When I learnt that, that's motivation enough for me to just stay on carnivore and just don't go anywhere else, because the inflammation is gone now. And my last test results, showed that the inflammation markers were as low as my doctor had ever seen in anybody, because there was just nothing in my system that was creating inflammation. That leads into the cholesterol issue, the big argument with cholesterol. Your cholesterol goes up on carnivore, but I just look at it very, very basic and very simple and say, well, with the cholesterol going higher, it's going back to the normal levels that we should actually have, because the body creates it naturally. And if that's our natural human diet, then clearly we should have had much higher levels of cholesterol. And cholesterol's in the artery systems. They're there, yes, I must admit, and my arteries are full of calcification. I can see it on x-rays, it's that high. So I'm okay with that, because I now know I don't have any soft cholesterol. It's all gone hard. And
one of the things that, sorry, just going to that, because I know that with my own story, I've actually had open heart surgery, triple bypass, way before I knew anything about carnivore or anything like that. However, I think a lot of people are actually get their testing done and they're so hell-bent on knowing what their blood reading is or their cholesterol or what their doctor says, that they need to bring it back to what our bodies actually are good for. And if you're providing with the proper nutrients and you're providing it with everything that it actually needs to survive and heal and do all of those things, it will do it in time. Now, remember, I'm only 120 days in, and I'll go over to Ian and let him explain how far he's been in. But already within a few days, like you said, I saw definitely some big changes, particularly for my type 2 diabetes. And, that's part of my journey. But how long have you actually been carnivore lifestyle? And, is there anything that you sort of want to share with people a little bit more about that part of your journey, how long you've been there for?
Well, the first 6 months probably leading into the trip to Europe was approximately 6 months. And then when we came back, that was about 6 weeks after that. So in total, it's been 23 months. So on the 1st of October, it'll be 2 years. But the advantages are, look, my weight loss is 43 kilos. Now, I just set out to lose a little bit of weight. At age 16, I was 16 stone. Now, that was 102 kilos then. I'm now 87 to 88, right? I'm very in there. Now, I could lose more weight, but I'm happy where I am, and I'm happy with what I'm doing in my routine now. That I really, if I didn't lose any more weight, I don't deliberately try to do that now. So I'm happy with that, and that takes a lot of weight off my mind that I've actually achieved what I set out to achieve and more. So as far as weight loss is concerned, I don't think there's anything really out there, any diet, any medications that will do what the carnivore diet's done for me in a million years. It's just not out there. End of story.
And again, the thing is, people have to remember that you talk about no medications or things out there that will do it. Yeah, they'll do it for a little while. But what nutritional value, or what are they losing within their body just to lose weight? Do you know what I mean? Whereas carnivore lifestyle is giving them those proper nutrients to feed their body to not only just lose weight, but to come back to healthy living, to get rid of all of those inflammations and things like that. So please go on. Sorry, I just wanted to share that because it comes up a lot.
Yeah, it does. It does. And you go to the shopping centre and you look at people that are obese, basically, or they're overweight, or they're limping. They know they've got a hip replacement coming. You can just see them a mile away, and I just feel so sorry for them. I really do. But I've had occasion once really that I could testify to, that I actually stopped somebody and said, look, I see you limping. Is it your hip? And she said, yes, it is. It's been like that all my life. Well, I told her about carnivore, and you could see that there was this mystical look on her face. and it was pretty much dismissed straight away. So I don't know what we've got to do to get that message across, but it does need to get across because there's too much of it going on. And the standard American diet, the Australian diet, we're pretty much on a par, and all the packaged food, it's horrendous. It really is.
I think with a lot of people, these days it's about quick and easy. I have young daughters as well and work hard. They're working full time. One's got a child, my granddaughter, and everything is about quick and easy. So those convenient places like McDonald's and Hungry Jack's and, all of the deep fried, most of them are poison for their bodies or toxic. Let's say toxic, not poison. So they're toxic, but the thing is, it's about that fast speed. What people don't realize is you don't have to think about on carnivore what you're going to eat. You've got a selection of whether you're going to stick to your meat, chicken, fish, duck, if, you're into that sort of thing, bacon, eggs, butter, good quality salt, Celtic salt, or Himalayan, whichever you want to use is good for you. And that is basically it. So to actually cook that is really quick and easy. You don't have to think, what am I going to have for tea? Look, I'm a mum of three, grandmother to one granddaughter who will be 11 this next month. And, it's the first time in my life that things have been easy. I've been cooking all my life, for my kids and stuff like that. And as a mum, I reckon there's probably 80% of the mothers out there that go, what are we going to have for tea? What are we going to cook tonight? Because they're trying to give their children or their partner nutritional value in their meals. However, what they don't realize and they don't have the time to do is actually research what they're actually feeding themselves and also their family.
Exactly right.
So go over to that for a little while on you spoke about this lady, not even, I suppose, wanting to have a look at it. And we are here to get the message out because how many people are quick to go, the next pill? I see something that's just coming out on Facebook myself with a few of my Facebook friends who are talking about and rah-rahing about this next wonderful thing that's going to have you lose weight and, fix your body sort of thing. But what part of that is natural and what part of that is still a part toxic, that when you go off of that thing that you're going to put everything back on? Now, I'm not saying that doesn't happen with carnivore, because if you went strict carnivore or carnivore like I do, it's a little bit relaxed, but I'm fairly strict. You would find that you don't want to, or you don't crave those things. Like in the beginning, you were craving sugar. When you go off, I went cold turkey. Now, that's probably not my suggestion for everyone, but for me, I'm a bit like that. I'm a bit of a bull at a gate. I do my own research, I lead into it, and one day I just went, you know what, I've had enough. I need to fix my diabetes, and this is how I'm going to do it. I'm going to go carnivore and at least try it for that 90 days, which a lot of the carnivore doctors actually recommend, is giving your body 90 days. So you've had, 23 months. Well done. What a congratulations to you. The one question I have is, is your wife carnivore with you, or your partner, or your children, or anybody in your family, or how did they take it when you sort of decided to do it?
Well, no, none of them. No, none of them have fallen online. But it's still fairy stuff. It's, I don't know what we've got to do to get that message across, but I don't annoy them anymore. I did when I first done it, but look, they only had to look at me. The difference before and after is immaculate. It's unbelievable.
Yeah,
I just want to debunk
some photos of your before and after. I'm just not quite sure whether we've got them, but let's get back to that. Keep going. Sorry.
I want to debunk two main things that people say to me. One is I couldn't afford to eat meat all the time. The second one is I don't think I could cook every day like that. Well, I'll give you my routine for the day. Once a week on a Saturday or Sunday, I'll go down and buy 2 kilos of mince. I used to use roasts, right, and put them in the slow cooker, and I'll probably go back to that. But right now I'm using 2 kilograms of mince. Just cook it up in the pan, salt and pepper, put it in the fridge when it cools, and I have 2 big serving spoonfuls of that into a pan in the morning, heat her up, throw in 3 scrambled eggs, and then I'm now turning that into an omelette, and I've costed that at around $4 a day. Now that's for the mince, because it's $22 for the mince. It's really cheap. Everybody just needs to get that out of their head, that the old what's it called, meat, butter, bacon, and eggs. That's Ken Berry's philosophy for how he starts his day every time and how every carnivore should approach it. So I've sort of adopted that, but just modified it a little bit. I have bacon some days, and just otherwise it's just meat. So that takes me 5 minutes to cook in the morning, and it's that big that it takes me 15 minutes to eat. You know, it's a huge meal at the end of the day. Then a cup of coffee and I'm done. I haven't eaten today other than that, but I will in the afternoon. I'll probably, if I'm still hungry, I'll just have a small tin of salmon, just break it open with a fork and eat it while I'm watching TV, and that's my day. Now, there's nothing hard and difficult about that. You cook once a week and then just chuck it in the pan and heat it up with some scrambled eggs and you're done. So the cost of it, it's about $4 a day, $5 if you add a few other little bits and pieces in now. Prior to that, when I was cooking roasts, it was costing me $10 a day. I was under that, but I use an average of $10 a day. Some days a bit over, some days a bit less. But that's not expensive, and if you can get it down with the mince to $4 to $5, you're laughing all the way to the bank.
Yeah, it really isn't. It really isn't expensive. And one of the things I found is that even though it may have been eating fruit and veggie, more veggie than fruit, most of the time, because today's toxicity within those vegetables, they don't last long enough. So I was chucking half of them out because I never got around to eating them. How quickly did broccoli go yellow and stuff like that? Now, my son is part carnivore, right? Because he's 6 foot and quite thin, and he's always been a lover of meat anyway. However, every now and again, he has a piece of chocolate, which I don't have. I've never been a chocolate lover. So, but part of what you're talking about is those saving costs. Is we went through our pantry, and we didn't throw it out. I actually took it over to my sister because she has people in her church that would love to just have some food. So we gave it away that way. But our fridge now is quite empty, and so is our pantry. But you know, you talk about cost, but have a look. You don't waste one single thing on the carnivore lifestyle, not one. Your meat is there, your eggs are there, your butter is there. And, you know, whatever meat you choose to do, whether it be beef, as in steak, bacon from the pigs, pork, lamb, you know, everybody has their desired taste, I suppose, for meat. I find I don't have red meat every night, but I do have a form of meat, whether it be chicken, pork, bacon, that sort of thing. And even silverside, I cooked a lovely silverside the other night, which was lovely. But I find if I don't have it at least every second night, then I feel that, because I'm only on 1 meal a day, and I wanted to get to speak to you about that. A lot of people hear it as OMAD, which is 1 meal a day. Now I'm down to 1 meal a day because I started on 2. You know, you do go through a little bit of panic. What am I going to eat? What am I going to have? And when you start to settle into what you're doing, it becomes very easy. So even though my tummy gets a little bit hungry, we're eating now between 5 and 6 o'clock rather than that later meal, because I'm only on 1 meal a day. So just talk to me, you know, how many meals? Have you tried 1 meal? Have you tried fasting? You know, that sort of thing.
Yes, I've done all of that, and I just let my body make that decision now. So if I feel like eating twice, I eat twice. If I want to if that meal in the morning is late in the morning, then I'm happy with that for the day. By the time you take on 2 litres of water a day with all of that, there's not a lot of room left, really. So, but I'm happy with that. I let my body make that decision. I recently went to 3 meals a day just to prove a point. Just recently, I've got that's for another day. I don't want to take up too much time, but but I went to 3 meals a day. Now, the one point I want to emphasize here is fat. You've got to have enough fat. For me, fat is 2 tablespoonfuls in the pan and cook your eggs or whatever else you got. At the moment, I'm using 1 because the mince that I use is very fatty, and so that becomes 2, right? So that's all my requirements for fat per day. So after that, if I'm out and I want to have something to eat, or I just want to be part of what's going on, I can have any sort of protein. I can have some lean chicken or some pork or whatever I want, and not feel as though I'm missing out on the fat. So I do that in the morning in the first meal. And but it's important that you have fat, but it doesn't have to be in every meal every day. I've rarely had a steak, would you believe it? I'm a carnivore, but rarely have I had a steak in this whole journey over 2 years. Our kids have killed a cow, and we got some of that, and I had a couple of T-bones and things like that. But my geez, 1 T-bone was enough for me for the day because they were like a meat stick. But you don't.
Some of the T-bones are big, aren't they?
Yeah, and all the big guns in America, they're all eating these ribeyes, and they have them 2 or 3 times a day. And
what do they call them? Tomahawk steaks. Oh my gosh, that would feed me for a week. Ian, just before you go on, we've got the pictures ready, so I'm just going to show the people watching the recording here that the before and after photos of Ian. So remember, Ian's been on 23 months now, and this is like a before, and then like a halfway through,
The big that guy on the outside there, he was 130 kilos, and the one on the middle is when I went on the cruise, and the one on the right was just the other day. So you can see how the muscle tone in the arms and the neck and the face and that they've all returned to what we should be.
And so, you said you lost 43 kilos?
43 kilos. Yeah. I touched 44, but I'm not claiming it yet because it didn't stay there. It just bounced off that.
Me either.
Yeah. Well, I'm not a cheat. So 43 kilos. I've been regular on that for, probably easily 6 months. Yeah. Haven't varied off it no matter what I eat. I have my chocolate too now. I'm allowed to have all those little things. But if you've got metabolic issues that are more severe, or you've got a cancer or you've got something like that, I'd recommend strongly you just stick to meat only and salt and water. That's what the experts are saying. And the people that have done that have had tremendous results in that area. But for me, I don't have those issues. So I've got peripheral type illnesses that are just disappearing, by the way. So I allow myself to have a beer if I'm out for lunch, and I'll have an ordinary steak with whatever comes with it. But they're rare for me. But I allow myself that. I think it's part of the journey that you allow a certain amount of those little things, but only after you've achieved what you want.
Absolutely. And I think that's really important for people to understand. This isn't about, changing your whole life where you're in a, giving up everything. Like every diet, we all know that fails when people don't, have something. But I think with carnivore that we give back, we give it that time, we give it the space that it needs to be able to change. And I can guarantee that once you start feeling the way like Ian does or myself, it really is something that you go, you know what, I don't want to stop this. And eventually down the track, you will be able to bring back some low carb things, right? Because you don't want to go back to the old way of eating because it's no good for you. And a lot of it is toxic, remember. So, Ian, this has been a really good interview, and I thank you for that. So just go on. We've got a couple more minutes left, and then we'll have to finish up for this session. But I definitely get you back down the track a little bit because I think it is really important for everybody to hear the different stories in the sense that, what I went through and what you went through, and also male, female, because I know that for females or for myself, we emotionally eat. So when we emotionally eat, we eat because we're happy, we're sad, we're pissed off, we're cranky, just different things throughout the day emotionally can bring up craving. So I know yesterday I was having craving for something sweet. And what I did was I had learnt to have pork crackle on hand, which I do buy from a better company, not just off the shelf. And it's cooked in lard rather than the oils. Or vegetable oils, which are really bad for you. And I have some beautiful, good butter with it. It adds a little bit of crunch, and believe it or not, it takes away that craving. So whether you are hungry or not, sometimes it's just having a little piece of something. But for me, because I still want to stay as strict as I can for now, it is about, you can introduce those things. And you spoke about that. So it's not about, oh my gosh, I can't have ice cream ever again. There's actually, from what I have seen and researched, there's a few little different carnivore ice creams, or one that they make. I'm not into ice cream or much in that sense. I'm more of a cake girl, but I haven't had one for a long time. And the other thing is, I also bought a little mini waffle maker, which I make chaffles, which is, egg, cheese, and I added chicken in. They're the greatest things, because I did what I like is a bacon and egg burger. And you can't just go out and get somebody to make that for you at different restaurants or cafes. They just look at you silly. But, I think researching and doing, like you said, find your way, find those recipes that suit you, find the meat that you can afford. Because one of the things I too followed Dr. Chafee and also Dr. Berry, and a couple of others, and one was a fantastic heart specialist as well. And, they say you don't have to go out and buy the best cuts of meat. You don't have to start with the most expensive. Start with what you can afford. Get off those sugars, get off those refined sugars, the flours, the rices, all those heavy carbs that you're carrying around in your body that causes inflammation, right? Because inflammation, to me, from years ago, is the cause of nearly every disease or problem within your body. So it truly is something that people need to start looking at, not just turning a blind eye to it. It's not for me. If you haven't tried it, then why not? So thank you once again. Like I said, I'll let you finish off, Ian, with a few words. And thank you so much.
Just one other thing we didn't touch on. There's so many things to talk about, but the brain fog. The brain fog lifted. Only too well that I avoid cameras, and I tend to not do interviews and things, but I felt this was really important, and I've also felt that I was healthy enough now to be able to handle it, because 2 years ago, seriously, I couldn't sit in front of a camera and put a sentence together because I'd just get lost. But now I don't have that issue. I was driving down the road. I'd go around a roundabout and forget that I had to turn and go right around again before I realised which one I had to get off. I knew that something wasn't right then, but that's all gone. And that lifted in the first few weeks. It was amazing.
Yeah, that's incredible. A lot of people talk about brain fog, and I never thought that I had it. There is something that comes after having open heart surgery called post-perfusion syndrome, which is they call pump head. And there's a lot more research being done into that now, because when you have open heart surgery, you're on a heart-lung transplant machine doing the living for you while they're working on your heart. So you start to lose words and different things like that. Now, after a little while, I got better, but I can tell you the clarity in my thinking, and like I said, I'm 120 days in today, the clarity in my thinking, I wouldn't have thought that I had brain fog as such, but it's more that, like my skin and stuff like that is feeling clean.
Skin.
It really,
really healed over. It's amazing. Yeah. I can hold a good pan now. And that's the other thing that people won't realise is you go out in the sun. I spent 3 hours surf fishing on the beach. Sun from morning up. It was just really hard on I get burnt. I'm light skin.
Oh,
and I can't get sunburn. I cannot get sunburn if I tried.
Wow.
There you go.
That's incredible. Yeah, and that's
Yeah, it is.
another
They're just
something to
becoming.
share with people, that they rub all this toxic crap on their bodies because you've got to protect yourself, slip, slop, slap. And believe you me, and again, I'm going to share this. Ian and I are not doctors, okay? We're not here to say that you should do this and that. We're here to share our story so that you actually can see that how it works for us. I'm 63. I don't know whether Ian wants to share his age today.
67.
But 67. So we're in our 60s. For any one of those, older people, I have 3 older sisters. I just actually had my sister up from me, 6 years older, have knee replacement surgery 2 days ago. And it pains me that she has to go through that. This is her second knee that's being done, that I wish that I could have helped in some other ways, but she does suffer from arthritis. The thing is, most people don't want to listen because they don't want to change their way of living. They're happy, they're safe, they're secure in what they think they need or what they think they've heard. And I'm just going to share this bit because I have had open heart surgery. But for anybody out there taking statins, I would suggest that you do a lot more research about that. Statins are to lower your cholesterol. And if you listen and go and research Dr. Chaffee or look for carnivore doctors, you will find people explaining why the body needs cholesterol. It's not just for your heart, it's for your brain, it's for your whole body. You lower that cholesterol, that's when you start to get brain fog. If you're taking cholesterol lowering medication, as I was without knowing, okay, just after heart surgery, you really have no idea the problems that it's causing. Neuropathy, leg cramps, all of those types of things. Now, this is my story. I haven't been taking a statin for many years. And yes, my cholesterol went up because my bloods were due to be tested because of my diabetes in the first month of me starting carnivore. So everything was a little bit, up, raised a little bit and good in other ways and stuff like that. However, my doctor, who after nearly falling off the chair when he saw my cholesterol reading, said to me, we'll check it again in 3 months. Now, like you, Ian, I wasn't and am not concerned about my cholesterol going up because, again, old learning, old patterns, this is what it should be, this is what you should do. Statins actually get sold because they make a lot of money. The lower they take the level of cholesterol where they say you should be. Years ago, it was probably up around 6, 7, whatever. Now they want you down below 5 or below 4. And it's crap because all it's doing is putting you into brain fog. It's putting you into,
That's right.
neuropathy and causing inflammation and all sorts of problems. So please do your own research and start to take responsibility for your own health. Nobody can do it for you. No pill will do it for you. And you need to look at this as you age, as you've heard Ian talk about how much it helped him. And like I said, we will get you back again, Ian. I think it's really important. So if you've got some final words for us today, that would be really great. And we'll finish off.
Yep. If it walks and it flies and it swims, you can eat it. Okay? That's it. Do it. Just do it.
Yeah. And make sure you get your fat content. Make sure that it's good quality butter or whatever you can afford, and good quality salt. And make sure that you're drinking plenty of fluids. Again, we thank you once again, Ian, for being here today. I'm sure that everybody will really appreciate the fact of you sharing your story. And we will have many to share in the future. So if you are on your journey, if you are on carnivore lifestyle way of eating and you haven't been there for a long time, or you have been there for a long time, we'd love to for you to come on and share a part of your story. You don't have to go right into anything. You basically share what your life has been like. We can see the difference in you from your photos, Ian. I've known you for a little while on Facebook. As you can see, Ian's photos really tell the story of his health journey and him taking responsibility for his health as we get older. It's just a shame for now that we didn't find out about this when we were a lot younger, because we wouldn't have ended up with the problems that we have today. So make that choice, be the one to take responsibility, take the action, and reach out if you ever need any help. I'm sure Ian would answer any questions as well. So thank you once again, Ian. I really appreciate you being here today. And bye for now.
It's a pleasure, Narelle. Thank you, and we should do it again.
Absolutely, we will, for sure.